Hi guys. This is a video that I'm making after going over all of your drafts for paper 2 that you recently turned in. So I'm going to go through some common issues that we saw with those before you turn in your final drafts next week, so that you're more prepared and you probably have a better idea of what I'm asking you to do in your comments that I gave you. So first of all, here is the assignment page that we had from when we started this assignment. This is in week 5 if you want to go and read it. One thing that people were having an issue with was they were turning in papers that were 2 or 3 pages long. Make sure that you have 5 to 6 pages for this. That doesn't count the works cited, and it doesn't count the cover page. Those 5 to 6 pages are the text of the paper. So make sure that you're going in and you're using, you're writing quite a few paragraphs in there to fill up that much space, and that you're talking about your topic the entire time. Some of you didn't have this issue. Some of you, a couple of you went over, which is really good. But yeah, practicing writing is the whole point of this, and make sure that you have a lot of writing in there. Make sure you also have 5 to 6 sources. Some people only had 1 or 2. If you don't have enough sources, that's going to cost you a lot of points when you turn in your paper next week. Make sure you have at least 5 in order for the sources to count correctly. So, another issue. This is supposed to just say MLA, or this is supposed to just say APA, rather. It says that in all of the other pieces of work that we have here. But this paper is supposed to be an APA style. So most of you guys did a good job with the format of the actual paper, but some of you had some problems with the formatting of your works cited page and stuff like that. So to show you in APA style in a little more detail than I did before, this is Purdue OWL, and if you just type in Purdue OWL APA, I'll put a link to this in the announcement. Let me write that down so I remember. Okay, if you just type that into Google, you'll be able to go right there as well. And Purdue OWL, of course, has all of the different citation styles that it covers. And so this will give you a brief overview of APA, and then you can find the type of citation that you need to make. So the ones that we're doing in class for the works cited citations, most of yours are going to be online news articles or similar articles to this. There's a few other online ones in here. Online journal article is probably one that you will see a lot as well. And you can look here and see how the format of those are supposed to go. This is, come on, don't get lost here. This is an article from an online periodical with 2 authors. So, for APA, it's last name, comma, first initial, middle initial. You don't use any first names anywhere. And if you have multiple authors, you'll put a little "and" there. You'll have the year in parentheses afterwards. If there's a month and a day, you'll put that as well. The title in regular case, you're not putting it in quotes like you would in MLA. The title of the periodical here in italics, and then all of the identification numbers of the volume, the issue, the page numbers, and then some kind of link to how to get there. So this is what that looks like when they've taken this example that they have and they put it into practice. These are their authors. This is their date. This is all that they have for the date. This is the title. Notice how, unlike in MLA, they've only capitalized the first word here, and everything else is lowercase. Psychology and Marketing is their journal that they published this in. This is their volume and issue number, their page number, and then here's a link that you can take to get to it. For the in-text citation for this one, actually, I'll show you how that should look. me copy paste this. So for in-text citation in APA looks different than MLA as well. It has more punctuation in it. Let's say this is the information that they have from there. Yeah, that sounds like something a psychologist would say. And then after that, they would just have the last names. They don't need all the initials and stuff because you can find that if you look down in the Works Cited page. I think this would be an and in between, actually. Yes. Okay. And then the date. And then the page number, which would look like this. (61-180) in parentheses, in punctuation. So, yeah, so we're saying this is the information that they got from their source. And then after they've had all of the information that they've gotten from there, maybe this could be several lines long, filled with all kinds of statistics about why psychology is cool or whatever. And then at the end of that, at the end of the last sentence, they don't put any punctuation here at the end of their sentence. They put a parentheses, last names of the authors, comma, date, comma, page, and then the pages that they're on, in parentheses, in punctuation. So the period doesn't go over here, it goes over here. And you put this after all of the information that you've gotten from that source. So if you've written like 5 sentences that are all coming from this source, you would write all those 5 sentences, and then you would put your in citation. Alright, last thing that to go over was a lot of people are having trouble with small issues in their paper, where the first one that I noticed that was really interesting was people were sending me Word documents where the spell check software wasn't working, and I don't know why that is. I tried to mess with it to make it work on my computer, and it didn't work. So, as I'm not a computer expert, what I suggest to do if I gave you that comment is go and just download Grammarly. You can just type Grammarly in. I'm going to put a link to that as well. I'll put a link to like I said, I'll put a link to this in the announcements. You can go there. You can download this as a, it'll pop up here on your browser, and it will edit all kinds of stuff. And if you click on it, you can start a document, and then copy paste your paper into that. It'll catch a lot of spelling errors. Some of you guys had like a huge number of spelling errors that the computer will just notice for you and underline. Word should be doing that, but for some reason it wasn't. And if that's a problem for you, then just use this. It'll work just as well. Okay, so the other thing that I saw a lot of, run-on sprawls, comma splices, and fragments. Just to kind of run down what those are again. If I told you had a lot of run-ons, this means that you have where you're writing whole sentences and you're not putting punctuation at the end of them so that they just blend together with the next sentence. So this is an example of that I made up. I made up all of these even though they kind of sound like y'all's papers. Homelessness is a serious problem where there are many solutions people have come up with to fix it. So you can hear that in the way that I say it, that there's that it's missing something in there, some kind of space or something. If you read through this out loud, you'll notice that. But also, Microsoft Word should be picking up where those are. You see right here, this one has picked up that there needs to be a period here. Or a comma. It wants to put a comma. It needs a period, though. Or it needs fanboys or something like that. Sprawl. Some of you are doing a lot of sprawls. That means you're writing really quickly, probably, and you're not catching where people need a break in the sentence. So this is an example of a sentence sprawl, and if you read these out loud, they will sound exactly like the one that I read will sound right now. Homelessness happens when someone does not have a home because they lose it as a result of being sick, losing work, having being mentally ill, or some other setback that can happen a lot in the United States, where many people have not gotten a raise in many years, and where poverty is on the rise all over the country. Should have capitalized United States. Oops. But yeah, if you have sentences like this, break them up, turn them into smaller sentences, and if it's hard to read them out loud like that, it's going to be hard to use them in your brain correctly. It'll be hard to process them correctly. So this is technically a correct sentence, except for my except for that. But you should be able to just go back and break that up. Comma splices. This is like run-ons, except you're using commas instead of periods. Childhood abandonment can happen to anyone. And I have a comma instead of a period. Often parents are not ready to have a child. So this case, both of these are complete thoughts. They don't need any help from another sentence. If you read these on your own, childhood abandonment can happen to anyone. That's a complete sentence by itself. Often parents are not ready to have a child. You can read that one by itself. So that means that they're separate sentences. They need either a period or they need some kind of fanboys. Yeah. These are fragments down here. These are some examples of fragments. There's 3 types of fragments. I think we went over this before. There's fragments that don't have a action happening in them. That's what this one is. Childhood abandonment is the subject of this sentence, but nothing is happening in it. So I would need to say something like childhood abandonment is a problem on the rise in America, or something like that. This one doesn't have a subject, so you need a subject, verb, predicate, and for every subject and a predicate, and for everything to be a complete thought to have a complete sentence. So this is the second problem. This is this one has a predicate but no subject. Stuck living with a foster family or living on the street. There are nouns in here, but there's no subject. The subject of this is the child that probably was mentioned in the previous sentence, but it's not mentioned here. And that's what happens, is it's easy to mention something in a previous sentence and forget that you're not mentioning it again. So for this one, it just needs some kind of subject. And then this one is an example of an incomplete thought. Because they have nowhere to live. Because makes this an incomplete thought. If we just said they have nowhere to live, they is your subject, have is your predicate, and then the rest of this would be a complete thought. But since we have because here, we need to complete this by adding something else here and making it a complete idea. Because they have nowhere to live, they have to live in the street. Alright guys, that was a much longer video than I wanted it to be, but hopefully this helps. If you're having any questions about what you need to do to fix up your paper, I will put those links below for Purdue OWL and for Grammarly if you need those. Good luck on your rewrites, guys, and I'll post a video tomorrow with information about what to do for next week. See you all in the discussions.